Sorry, everybody. Okay, so Jennifer, welcome. So glad you decided to help us tonight by sharing your story, and I will go through the slides as you direct me.
Okay. Well, I'm Jennifer Brown, and I live in Emmett, Idaho, and my husband and I wanted our own land that we could homestead for years, and we finally got a chance in 2012 to buy a place. So holistically, we wanted the lifestyle of the homestead, and I hadn't really thought past that, about profit. But my background in college was in business, not farming. So I've taken master gardening classes, living on the land, sustainable farming, a real short permaculture class, and then this class. Well, my husband, he has experience with farm animals. He's raised calves, peacocks, chickens, and he's broke horses. So he's got more knowledge than I do. So next slide. Oh, no, that's the one I want. Never mind. Go back, please. I'm sorry. I was looking at my paper. So this property is 5.5 acres, and we bought it as a short sale. So we looked at it in March of 2012 when there was still snow on the ground. And by the time we closed in June, it had been vacant for over a year. And we were actually told there had been transients living in it for a little while. The county sheriff's office kept having to go out there. But the previous owner that had it had stripped all of the irrigated pipe that had irrigated 3 acres on the north side. He'd pulled down sheds, he'd removed fencing out of the field and barn doors, and the house had lots of work as well. He'd stripped some things out of there, and from what the neighbors told us, he'd never sprayed for weeds. So I think they were really anxious to get somebody in there that would actually, start to take care of the land. And this is a picture kind of standing back in the field, looking towards the barn there, and there was cheatgrass everywhere. And there's some poplar trees in that picture that we actually just took down over the weekend. They were over 100 foot tall and planted directly over the septic tank. So we've had our work cut out for us there. So next slide. So one of our neighbors was nice enough to bring over a tractor, and he ripped a trench down our south side. So this is a picture of our south side. And this side with the pasture is about 2.5 acres, and it's where the house and the barn sit. And it had never been irrigated at all. So we hand-dug what was left of the ditch and removed some trees and have actually planted berries and a yard. And we used our large poplar trees to add some hugelkultur mounds on this side as well. And on the north side of the property, we put the gated pipe back in and ran fencing down the center of the pasture to separate the two sides. And then we started to spot spray and kept the pasture mowed down to control the weeds with some help from our goats. So that's how we started to try to get that going again. So next slide. So this is a picture of the south side where I said there wasn't any irrigation. And this ground on this side was so hard that we actually had to rent a hydraulic post hole digger to put in part of the fencing the first year. And I actually looked at the soil type on the charts at the Jim County Extension Office, and it is covered with a layer of ash from the butte that we're really close to, and then it's got clay underneath. So this is a picture of the garden that I put in last year, and I've been adding manure and compost to it, and it's actually started to become workable. However, we've been using the flood irrigation, which is not working so well with all that clay. And so I plan to put in a small holding pond this year with a pump and add some drip irrigation so I can control the water more effectively. And I've benefited most from the strategic planning in this class and the selling into different market segments of the course. So when we first got out here, we were so excited to finally have some land. And our kids are in their 20s, so this was just for us. But we went straight out and bought 3 goats, a miniature pony, 30 chickens, 8 ducks, 2 pigs, 15 turkeys, and 2 peacocks. So we just kind of went nuts. And it's been a lot of fun. However, there's been some learning curves there. The pigs turned out to be really expensive because we were buying baked feed. And the pork came out awesome, and we've gotten lots of compliments on the meat. So we didn't make a profit, which is okay, you know, because we only bought 2. But the chickens were easy to raise. However, our area doesn't support high-priced broilers, so we've kind of decided not to do that. And more people were breeding turkeys last year than in the previous year. So I'm thinking this might be the trend. So I'm kind of seeing that each year, you know, it's going to be different. So selling into different markets is definitely the key to diversifying our customers. And I'm thinking, you know, like for the turkeys, we're going to have to expand from Craigslist to maybe talking to some of the health food stores, which I know they sell farm-raised turkeys around Thanksgiving, and do more word of mouth with family and friends. And this will help me determine how many turkeys to raise rather than raising 30, you know, and then hoping Craigslist isn't saturated with turkeys come October. And we're also going to go to a farmers market seminar this next month and kind of look into that. So being more strategic and doing that initial planning is definitely the way to go. So next slide. So this is closer to the field that had some irrigation, and I'd actually added more compost into this side, and the soil was much better here. And then we've added hen houses and paddocks for the goats and the pony, and added doors to the barn, and we've got a lot more green there, so it's looking better. Next slide. So here's a picture of our largest and most aggressive tom turkey we have, and he's a black slate heritage that's already started breeding this year. And I've added permaculture into my plans, and I'm planning on signing up for an online permaculture class with Jeff Watkins that's coming up. And my husband and I also took a short class last year at the Lata Fairgrounds in Moscow that had Paul Wheaton and Joe Soliton there. So that got me really excited for the permaculture. And I'm also going to be adding bees. I've ordered 2 nukes that'll be arriving next month, so I'm going to be adding those and also adding a greenhouse to our south side. Next slide. So going forward, I want to add some different ventures. I think we're going to be experimenting some, so we can decide, you know, which ones are for us, which ones we really enjoy, you know, and which ones just aren't lucrative, and also plan to be very strategic and weigh our options before jumping in. And here's a picture of some electric solar fencing that we bought from Premier for our turkeys, and it also works great for our goats, so it's actually working for both, and we kind of rotate them back and forth off that same field. So next slide. So for our future plans, we will cut costs. We want to plan to grow more of our feed ourselves. We're going to downsize the chickens. Don't plan to do broilers, but there's a demand for eggs, so I may expand some in that area. And like I said, we're adding the beehives. We have mature apple, cherry, apricot, and pear trees, and then we've added 20 new fruit trees, and blackberries, raspberries, marionberries, blueberries, huckleberries, grapes, and plan to add some nut trees. So I'm really hoping that those bees will get us going on our pollination and create higher yields. And we're also adding cattle. And we're going to be partnering with a friend who's purchased a Highlander bull that he's keeping on about 1.5 acres that's located only 3 miles away from us. And we plan on purchasing some Highlander or Galloway cattle to breed with his bull and paying him a subsidy. So I'm really excited for the years ahead on our homestead. And we're real flexible, and we're just excited to see which way we're taking. So we're just kind of getting going. And that's it.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I just realized that I must have met you when you were here in Moscow at the permaculture course, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And
I bet you did, yeah.
yeah, and Janice, our next speaker, was also at most of those sessions. So I am going to go ahead and plug her in, and you'll all be glad to know that I figured out how to do this. So it only took me about 3 tries here. So we'll be back to you maybe for questions later. And
okay.